gifts and payments. Make sure that you avoid gifts and payments from interested parties. It's also known as bribery. You've heard of it before. So in the ethics training that we do for DC government employees, they have two different buckets of gifts. There's gifts from prohibited sources, which is kind of what we're seeing here. And then there's gifts between employees. And you don't have to worry about that part because unless you're a DC government employee, that is a whole separate thing. So basically, we're talking about gifts from interested parties, which could be prohibited sources. Those include lobbyists, vendors, contractors, developers, licensing applicants, parties involved in zoning matters, people who are regulated or parties who are regulated by the district, or anyone who wants to do business with the district or who has business before your commission and they're bringing something before you. So that would be someone you wouldn't want to accept a gift from. Now, let's do a quick hypothetical. So a developer who is building a senior living center within your SMD offers you 2 tickets to the next Nationals game. The developer zoning application is pending, and you are considering whether to support his application in your capacity as an ANC. Can you accept these tickets? We could also use the chat for this because I don't know that that's a question. So you could type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and shout it out. I think this one is a little easier than most of the hypotheticals we have. But if your answer was no, you are correct. So this developer is a prohibited source because he's seeking approval from the Board of Zoning and support from you in your capacity as an ANC. It's highly likely that this developer is seeking to sway your decision to support his application. I guess other types of things we would consider are if you have a personal relationship with this person and it's somehow motivated by something outside of the senior living center application. But even while that application is pending, that's probably, it's a bad look on you to be accepting a gift like that. So another thing you can do is you can always ask this. I'm going to tell you the 10 principles of ethical conduct and forget all of them as soon as I'm done. That's perfectly fine. Just remember that we exist and you can contact us and we are always available to give you ethics advice and yeah, whatever it is you need, talk you through a situation, anything like that.
So Rashid, there was a question and it said, what if you recused yourself from the matter before the commission?
So we're saying that you would recuse yourself from the matter in order to accept the gift. Recusal usually doesn't cure the gift part of it. It would be a gift that you would need to refuse in this particular situation because of the action they're trying to take. And so it gives that conflict of interest appearance as well. So recusal will come up on a little bit later.
That sounds great. Before we get, yeah,
sure. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure what your next slide is, and again, I'm trying to field the questions in the question and answer. There was a little bit more questions about the gift rules. We can hold those off till the end if you want, and I'll unmute commissioners that can ask the question. It's fairly long, but
okay. I think in a nutshell, the gift rules that don't apply to ANCs were the gifts between employees, because I mean, for the purpose of the rules, you are technically a DC government employee, but not really, unless you actually are a DC government employee. So let's see, events where food is served as a buffet, can you partake? What if you're invited to a dinner? What if the dinner is given by the bid? I guess it depends. I think we've got a slide coming up on widely attended gatherings. So widely attended gatherings would be ones that you could go to. Like let's say all members of the community are invited, to include ANCs, not, if it's just specific to ANCs and the gift is being given for that reason, that would be a no. But let's say the bid is doing a dinner for the community. That is definitely something you could attend. Generally, I think maybe the part that you're talking about as far as Fed rules is the limit is about $10 when we're talking about gifts between employees. So the limit there would be if you're buying somebody lunch, that type of thing would be a $10 thing. But for the most part, we're talking about gifts between prohibited sources here. Now, every time you have a situation that comes up like that, where you have a dinner invite, just send it to us and we can give you a quick answer and let you know, like, hey, that sounds great. Or we may have other follow-up questions for you as to like who else is invited, what is the purpose of it, and maybe it's an awards dinner for the community, because I know there's a lot of different stuff like that goes on. So it's a good chance that you could go, but I would always reach out. Now if it sounds kind of like that baseball situation that was in the hypothetical, that one sounds a little bit more like it's motivated by the action that's pending in front of the ANC. So that one's why that's a no. So even if the developer does not have a pending project within your SMD, you should decline the gift, since the gift is likely provided only because of your official title or position as a commissioner. So that goes back to not capitalizing on your public office for a private gain. Avoid outside payment for government work. This is also called the salary supplementation rule. So basically, no one should pay you for your district work except for the district. And there are federal criminal, there's a federal criminal law for this. There are criminal penalties for this. And that kind of goes along with bribes as well. So if you're getting paid to do something that you were, that you was part of your job anyway, then you shouldn't be accepting money from anyone else to do that. Okay, financial conflicts of interest. Let me play this little video for you, and then this is the area where you'll get to recusals.
So Rashid, we couldn't hear the last one.
Sorry?
We couldn't hear the sound of the last one. So you may
Okay.
want to increase the volume or look at the volume on the computer.
Let me see if I can do that. Because I'm not, let me see if I can turn that up. I'm trying to see, I'm not sure if it's actually sharing my sound from my computer other than my microphone. So that might be part of the problem. This one is subtitled though, so let's see.
I was going to say, if you have it on another screen, you might be able to open it from another screen if you want to use it.
I am not sure. Okay, well, let's see. Make sure that's turned up. Can you hear that?
I cannot. I can't. We'll have to use the subtitles.
All right. Andrea, I see your questions in the chat and I'll send you a copy of the rules. The fastest way to find them is in the District Personnel Manual, Chapter 18, which is called Employee Conduct. And then within that section, you will have a whole section on gifts. I think it's 1803. And within there, you'll have gifts from prohibited sources, and then underneath that, gifts from employees, and that will tell you a little bit more. Now, if you're giving gifts between each other, that might, that could be maybe a gift between employees. I don't know. We haven't had a lot of situations like that where ANCs are gifting to each other. So, so that part, I'm not as clear on. That would be more fact-based. So now to avoid conflicts, financial conflicts of interest. So don't take any action or participate in any manner that could financially benefit you or someone close to you. What we're talking about when we say participation is a decision, approval, disapproval, recommendation, rendering of advice, an investigation, or otherwise. Person closely affiliated, it would mean either your employer, a family member of yours, business partner, clients of yours, that sort of relation. Federal criminal penalties apply here as well. And recusal is the proper recourse when something lands on your desk like this. So, let's say your employer is the one in that situation who with the senior living center. That would be something that you would want to, that's not a matter that you would want to personally vote on with the commission, because that's, you would have a potential financial interest in that if that's your employer. All right, let's do a hypothetical for this. So your spouse's client has a pending matter for support before your SMD. The client informs you that if you do not support the measure, the client will terminate his business relationship with your spouse. What should you do? Well, that sounds like a threat. First of all, that's kind of a crummy thing that the client would say to you or would do. So what do we think we would do here? Best thing you could do is to recuse from voting on the client's matter, because the client is personally closely affiliated through the business relationship that they share with your spouse, and your participation will have a direct and predictable effect on that client's financial interests, which affects somebody close to you, which is your spouse. So that could directly impact you. So you would want to put your recusal in writing, and you can send it to the chair of your commission. You can send it to us as well. We keep recusals on file, so that way, if ever there's a complaint later and somebody says, like this ANC didn't recuse themselves, we have a record of that already. Like, no, they did. So then that won't be an investigation because it's already open and closed. There's already a recusal on file there. Public financial disclosure certification. So this might be why you're here today, because you're required to take ethics training to do your financial disclosure statement, but financial disclosure is required of you. And that you can find under DC Official Code Section 1-1162.25 A1 and 2. And that kind of gives you more of the guideline on financial disclosure generally throughout the district and as far as public officials. So an advisory neighborhood commissioner in office for at least 30 days shall be required to file a certification required by 224A1G for the preceding year. So if you served for 30 days within any calendar year, you have to do a financial disclosure for that year. I think that probably works out okay on election years, because if your term expires prior to the 30th day of January, you won't be practicing or you won't be in the following year where you would have to file again. The financial disclosure certification is submitted to the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability. We have everything electronic now, so you would get a login and a password to file everything online, and you could do it that way, and that would be it. And of course, we have IT support. If there is any issue with your login or password, you're having trouble doing it, please reach out to us and we can help with that. So financial disclosure certification is filed publicly. You're considered public officials. And ANC commissioners are required to file certification electronically through our e-filing system by May 15th of each year. So you might not have heard about your obligation yet, but that's because the financial disclosure season just started. So all of the notifications are scheduled to go out April 15th. So I think that's Monday, right? So you'll hear Monday about your obligation if you haven't already before, or if you're not a returning ANC and haven't already heard of the obligation. So, and I think the part of the reason why it's April 15th is one of the questions asks you if you've already filed your taxes for the prior year. So the form that's coming out on April 15th, 2024 is actually asking you for calendar year 2023. So if you had served 30 days in 2023, that's what you're filing for this season. And if you didn't have 30 days in 2023, then you won't have a filing obligation this time. Okay, acting impartially. So let's see, did I miss any questions yet? Oh yeah, it is not scrolling down for me. I'm sorry that I'm missing these.
Yes, there are a few questions.
Okay.
There was a question that said, would it be recommended to recuse yourself, I think, after the video went from the entire meeting or just when the topic comes up on the agenda?
You could just recuse yourself from the topic itself or from that vote. If they're taking a vote that day, you could abstain from that vote or just from that section. The rest of it, you don't have to recuse from everything that day. Because I know you cover sometimes you'll cover a lot of business in one meeting. So you don't have all of it, just that particular matter.
Okay, and then the question was, does your office provide protections or support if a commissioner gets a threat like the one that you mentioned in the video? You established that it, kind of sounded like a threat. The question is, a recusal only solves part of the problem. So if it was in fact a real threat that came through,
Yeah. Well, the problem is our enforcement authority is limited to DC government employees and the people that we cover. So I'm not sure that we would have a recourse against that outside person, but in the grand scheme of things, I think there are a lot of other ways that we could, maybe not necessarily Vega, but as a community could take some action against that. If this is a vendor who works through district government and they have contracts through Office of Contracts and Procurement, that could be reported to them so they know about that. And so, that might be something that makes them lose their clean hand certification, because that's not really a great way to do business. So there would be that method. I don't know how, some people like to go to the press. There would be that method, or local blogs, that type of thing. I'm not sure that we have the enforcement authority to do that. There would be other ways to do it. So there are whistleblower protections within the Ethics Act, but that's for if you are the one making a complaint, that you will be protected.
Perfect. And we always know that there's MPD if there's anything.
Yeah, if it's like a physical threat to your person, then definitely Metropolitan Police Department would be one that you would want to contact for that. Okay, I'm just going to copy down Andrea's email address before this disappears at the end of the session, so I can send email at the end.
Okay. Also, just for folks to know, Commissioner Michelson Horowitz did say that some of the financial disclosure forms have been sent out. Some people are receiving them. We got an email from someone this morning who had also received their disclosure form. So they're probably getting them out before the 15th.
We're doing them kind of on a rolling basis this week as far as the paper forms. If we have your email on file, you may also get an email. Might be easier for the email. You can just click through it, right? Then you don't have to go and type in what's on the letter. But when I arrived this morning, I saw there's another 400 or 500 letters that were going out. So I think there'll probably be another mail run tomorrow too. So yeah, you'll be receiving it very soon if you haven't already.
Perfect, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to acting impartially. Don't give preferential treatment to friends, neighbors, or acquaintances, political donors or allies, family members, and that can include family members and business associates who would also fall under that conflict of interest provision. Sorry, that was rather quick. So acting impartially, similar to similar to what you heard as far as the financial conflicts of interest of, don't give anyone preferential treatment. So preferential treatment itself has its own section under the code of conduct. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a financial thing for that. Safeguarding government resources. So don't misuse government property. I'm not sure if you guys get a lot of property. I think maybe it depends by location or what your commission likes to do. If you have an iPad or a phone that comes with your service, don't misuse that property. Anything that costs the government money is considered government property. So, and use for anything other than a legal or authorized purpose will be a violation. So this could include devices, government buildings. So I'm not sure if you all meet in government buildings or if you meet elsewhere in the community. Those government building spaces still count as government. Let's see, other examples: using printer toner for personal things, improper appropriations expenditures, like purchasing food or beverages, using a government credit card for personal things. Even if you have the intent to pay it back, you can't use the government credit card to do that. There is a mayor's order regarding the email policy, and that is if you have a district government email address. And I think you do, but it also kind of depends if you're using a different address that you've created for your SMD. So if you have a DC government address, make sure that you use that for your official email, for your government business, and don't mix your private business in there. And if you are using your personal email for everything, I would recommend you create a separate address for your ANSI work. Okay, let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, by definition, neighbors come before the ANC every month. Is this going as far as preferential treatment? We'll just be cognizant of if there's an appearance of a close friendship or something like that on something you're voting on, would be cognizant of that appearance. Okay, avoiding representational conflicts of interest. So as a general rule, don't represent anyone against the district. There is an exception to this rule for special government employees, and that means 130 days or less that you are employed by district government may engage in representation against the district, but not in front of the same commission on which the individual serves. So the way this would work would be if somebody wanted you to represent them before your own commission. So I think that is kind of more of the issue of, like, you are on the commission itself, you can't also represent somebody who's coming before the commission because you can't be on both sides of the table. So that would be more of where that comes into play. Sorry, I'm trying to check. I've got multiple screens open, so I'm trying to check the Q&A on this other screen back here, make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, you haven't missed anything. Nope, we're good.
Okay. All right, safeguard confidential non-public information. You may come across non-public information during your work. Don't leak that non-public information to the press or to to the public if that's not public yet. This includes talking about your commission on social media. So if it's non-public, please don't post it on your social media. That's going to get you in trouble as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean for that to go so quickly. But I think you will have a sense of what is non-public, or you'll be told that it's non-public, and please don't share that. Abide by revolving door restrictions. There are several post-employment restrictions, and many times that'll be more geared towards DC government employees, but once you leave government, you have to abide by these certain post-employment restrictions, which are probably similar to the ones Andrea mentioned before, the federal rules as well. They also have post-employment restrictions. Now, if you're going from one government to another, you don't really have a lot to worry about, even if you're working on a similar project. So government to government is usually okay. So there are differing periods of time for post-employment restrictions. There's a 1 year, a 2 year, and a permanent restriction. 1 year is considered the cooling off period. 2 years is for a matter kind of that was under your supervision, and permanent is something that you worked on substantially yourself. Now, post-employment, I will tell you, is very complicated. It's very fact specific. We have to know what you did and then what you will be doing to be able to give you really good advice on that. So I would recommend you call us. We offer that advice for you for life, for all of your government work that you've done. So if there's something else that comes up in the future that you're concerned about, you can always reach out to us and we will offer you post-employment advice on that. So that way you can have, a letter or something in writing from us saying what you can and can't do, or if sometimes your employer may want you to have something that says that it's okay to work for them. Again, yeah, we offer free safe harbor post-employment advice for life. So please take us up on that if you need it. And our last tenet, disclose waste or illegal conduct by government officials to the appropriate authorities. So that means that you have an affirmative obligation to report to either the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability or the Inspector General credible violations of the code of conduct. If you think that somebody is violating the code of conduct, I would go ahead and make the complaint. Now, what you can do as far as BEGA and the IG is there are ways that you can make the complaint anonymously. If you don't want your name attached to it or you don't want to participate in the process, then at least you've made the complaint and you're not, you don't have to be a part of the process if that's not something that you want. Now, failure to disclose can be a violation of itself. So just keep that in mind. If you see something, say something if you can. Cooperation is mandatory. So if an investigation is ongoing, the IG's office or our office may reach out for an interview or to just find out more about, in terms of our investigation. So cooperate, please, as part of your obligation. And retaliation against someone for making a report is in itself another violation. So that is a whole separate second violation. And I don't think that, hopefully none of you would be doing something like that anyway. All right, and we have reached the end. So for advice, for information, to make a complaint, you can call our hotline. You can email our general mailbox, that is bega@dc.gov. We have a main line that you can call in, and you can, if you need advice, we can get that to you very quickly. Let me see if I can stop sharing here so that way I can start putting in the chat. I can give you my contact info as well. Here is.
And what I'd like to do now, commissioners, is if you have any questions that you feel weren't answered or like, just use the emoji to raise your hand and I'll unmute you. And we have some time, at least another 15 minutes to ask Rashi any questions. So feel free.
I'll scroll back through the Q&A and see what else I've missed. Let's see, BEGA regulations prohibit ANCs from attending trainings because they call trainings a gift, even when the only thing of value being provided to ANCs is advice on how to do the work of an ANC. That one sounds like it was very specific to some facts, because training is generally okay. I mean, we're doing training right now. This is not a gift. I mean, I would, if I were you, I wouldn't consider it a gift. So I think that might be fact specific. Like if it's from a DC government agency, like if OAG is giving you legal counsel division training, that should be completely allowed. So I think it depends on the facts and who's giving it. Is it a prohibited source giving the training? That kind of thing.
So I believe it wasn't a district agency for where that issue might have come about, but it definitely was a specific training. So it was something that we did reach out to Vega about and got a ruling from you all and placed that ruling and published that to all the commissioners. So
Okay. Let's see.
I think there's so I think
Andrea had
training
some
by
gift questions, and I can get
yes.
that info for you. If I can find it right now, I'll just send you the resources from our website that have that on there. And
Right.
so our website, I think I put it in here, is vega.dc.gov. So we have advice on here, training and education. If you feel like you want other training, the other one that we have is Hatch Act training, but I don't do any Hatch Act stuff in this training because you aren't subject to the Hatch Act. So you probably don't need that. I don't think you want to sign up for it, but if you do, you always could. We've got our enforcement actions on the website, info on financial disclosure, lobbying, if that's something you do or are interested in. And then we've got different reports and publications on here as well. Let me see, under the advice section, I think you'll have the ethics manual itself. And I think I can provide you, here is a plain language guide for the ethics manual. And so within the ethics manual, you'll see, let's see. There's a gift section, looks like it goes from page 10 down to, what's a long section, almost to page 30, because it has what are the gifts from outside sources, who's a prohibited source, what is not a gift, gifts from lobbyists, between employees, which was the part we didn't really cover, and then fundraising, donations, and volunteering. And within there, you may also have widely attended gatherings, gatherings that you may be invited to. Okay. Let's see in here. More detail on invitations to events. So widely attended gatherings, generally, and this, for the most part, for DC government employees, it's usually in terms of like a conference or a luncheon situation, one of those type of things, and what amount of that is allowed and what is not, or, you know, if can you accept free attendance to these events? And if it's an event that's free to the public, then if it's being offered to you, it's free to you too, then, you know, that's not something that counts as a gift, because if it's free to the public, it's not a gift. So those kind of things you don't have to worry about. But if it's being offered just to you in your ANC capacity, that would be one to question a little bit more. Let's see, as far as meals, generally like a modest item of food that isn't a meal itself is not a gift. So if you go to a meeting and they have coffee and donuts, that's, you know, that's fine. Or if they have bottled water, that's okay. When it gets to be a full meal, then you may want to question a little bit more. Trainings by non-government individuals. Okay. Was there anything else?
I don't see anything. Again, commissioners, if you want to raise your hand, we have, just a few more minutes if you actually want to ask them in person.
Yeah.
I see most people
Andrea,
are using.
Is there a specific question, Andrea, about gifts? Because I see exactly what page. So the things that are not gifts are, let's see, page 15, which is not page 15 of the, oh, it is page 15 of the PDF has what is not a gift on there. Was that the part you were looking for?
So Rashi, maybe you can do some clarification. The training, obviously ANC commissioners are not actually considered DC employees, right?
mhm, yeah,
And while we are elected, we are not compensated for it. So we do not receive any monetary, um, you know, uh, payment of any sort. Um, so, I think Commissioner Bradley Lewis just, in reference to things like gift and recusing yourself and all of that,
mhm.
how does that, is there anything different in your presentation that would then apply to an ANC commissioner who is not a DC employee and is not
Yeah.
compensated?
Like you can still be subject to a financial conflict of interest, even if you're not being paid. Like if you have some ability to make money off of a decision that you make in your elected position, that is still a financial conflict of interest. So that these rules do apply. It's not that they don't. The only one that I said didn't is really the gifts between employees. Because if you're not an employee, the gifting between employees part is kind of not important there. But you are still, I mean, you are still able to have a financial conflict of interest, even if you're not being paid. Because if you can make money off of something, let's say somebody offers you, hey, I'll give you, $25,000 if you make sure that my liquor license gets approved. That's a financial conflict of interest because now you have the ability to make this extra money based upon that. So I don't know about creating guidance that's more thoroughly tailored. Yeah, I think we could do that. I don't think we need to amend anything to do that, but we could maybe try and come up with a guide that's a little more tailored to your experience as well. But as far as like the salary supplementation, if somebody offers you money for doing what you normally do as an ANC, that's again salary supplementation because you're not supposed to be accepting a salary for this position. So you shouldn't be paid by someone else externally for that position. Being a
Fantastic.
district employee would seem to nullify restrictions on post-employment activity. Would it not? I guess it would depend on what the activity is. Like if it's something that's really closely related to what you worked on, there is a possibility it could be. Let's say you approved a particular business's license and then you leave and then immediately go work for the business. That could be a conflict. It would be fact specific. It would be dependent on that. But I think you're right. Probably that might take out a lot of the post-employment issues. So you don't have to worry about it as much. But if it's a very particular issue that you worked on as an ANC, then just remember that it's a possibility that could be a post-employment conflict, and then come get your advice so you don't run into the conflict.
Right. We do recommend that commissioners who cycle off do check with you on any of those post issues that may come up, post-employment issues, even though we're not technically employed either by the District of Columbia or by anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Let's see if there's any other questions in the chat.
Yeah, let's see. Can you clarify what counts as a gift? So the PDF manual I sent you on page 10, it tells you what is a gift. That is a gratuity, a favor, a discount, entertainment, hospitality, loan forbearance, or other item having monetary value. It could be a gift of training, of transportation, local travel, lodging, meals, purchase of a ticket, reimbursement for the purchase of something, that type. So that is on page 10 of this manual that I sent, but that's also within the district personnel manual at 1803 is where you'll find the gift section. Let me get that link for you to the district personnel manual. Oops. So here's a personnel manual, chapter 18. It would be helpful if the language is tailored to ANCs. When we read things saying employees, it gets confusing since we're not employees and good paid by DC government. Correct, but you are still in your elected capacity subject to the same restrictions as far as financial conflicts of interest, disclosures, use of government property and whatnot. So let me see if I can get something more tailored that would be helpful that we can offer to the OANC.
Sorry, I was on mute. That would be great because we can post it. So certainly post it on our website as a great reference tool and in our guidance tips. So that would be helpful.
Okay.
All right, we're getting close to the hour. So any last minute questions that we have? Again, you can raise your hand if you want to say them in person. Everyone's hiding behind the chat, the question and answer box today. All right, seeing none, I just want to thank Rashi for presenting this information for us today. And for those of you who have attended, you can check the box on your financial disclosure form. We also will have the training online. It's been recorded. However, I think for your financial disclosure, to check your box, you just need to go to Bega's website and do the training through their website. Is that correct, Rashi, or is the recording enough?
I forget. I think Asia said that the there is a link to training on our website. We have on-demand training through our LMS and available through PeopleSoft. I don't know if you have PeopleSoft access, but we have recordings available on there as well.
Okay, so what I'll do is any commissioners, if you have any fellow commissioners who have any questions when they get their financial disclosure form, just contact our office and we'll have information for you on what's the best way to do it. Generally, this training is not allowed to be recorded, but Asia did give me that opportunity. So I just wanted to let know if folks actually watch the recording, if that qualifies. So we'll just need to get that coordinated with Bega.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. If you have any questions, I think Rashi put her contact information into the chat. So it is there as well as a telephone number. So you can ask her any other questions that may come after this offline. All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather before it rains. Take care.
Bye.